The past 100 years is filled with insane tanks, starting with France's fearsome Char 2C in the early 1920s and ending with the highly capable M1 Abrams battle tank in service today. Tanks have become a fixture of the modern battlefield, and these are the biggest tanks ever conceived. Our review breaks down these tanks, comparing their weight, size, and armaments. Although some of the tanks described in the video were eventually built, other designs, like the Land Cruiser P1000 ROT, were just too crazy to exist. Looking at just its sheer specifications, it's hard to imagine any engineer honestly believing such a tank could be possible. The Land Cruiser would have weighed 1,000 tons, or the equivalent of 16 modern Abrams tanks, with 30% of that weight coming from munitions alone. It would have also been powered by 2 German U-boat engines, giving the Land Cruiser 16,000 horsepower. With that much power, this metal monstrosity could still travel roughly 25 miles per hour. Of course, Germany never made the Land Cruiser, since it was too easy a target for aerial assaults. But that doesn't stop us from listing some of the most peculiar tanks. We unveil some of the tanks that were too weird to live and too rare to make into World of Tanks. For example, a tank as tall as a 3-story building, or with 3 wheels instead of tracks. TOG-2. The TOG-2 was the evolution of the British tank known as the TOG-1, conceived based on the notion that rough terrain and challenging conditions similar to World War I would require a heavier-duty machine. The diesel V12-powered tank never made it out of the prototype stage after World War II evolved in such a way it was deemed unnecessary. Churchill Crocodile. The Churchill Crocodile was a flame-throwing tank of the late Second World War. Hailing from Britain, the clue is in the name. It was a variant of the Churchill Mark VII. The Churchill was a specialized armored vehicle developed under Major General Percy Hobart. Like a number of strangely modified vehicles operated by the United Kingdom's 79th Armored Division, they were informally known as Hobart's Funnies. The Churchill could hold 400 imperial gallons of fuel, and paired with the compressed nitrogen propellant, meant there was enough for 80 one-second bursts. The flamethrower itself had a range of up to 120 yards. T-30 Heavy Tank. The T-30 was an American-made heavy tank that saw limited action due to its development concluding as the end of World War II drew near. Weighing in at 145,000 pounds, the T-30 was fitted with a massive 155mm main gun, with 2 machine guns offering support. Essentially a stillborn design, the T-30 would have been a brute in wartime exercises. T-28 Super Tank. In yet another instance of a massive tank being completed in prototype form, but never making it to the battlefield, the T-28 Super Tank owns the title of being the largest tank ever developed for the US military. Believing such a machine was needed to defeat Hitler's armies, it measured 36 feet long and weighed 95 tons loaded. Panzer VIII Moss. The Panzer VIII Moss was another German tank that may have been big and bad, but it was also seriously heavy. Though the brute weighed in at almost 200 tons, it was also too heavy to reach anything approaching a cruise speed and would have a hard time crossing most bridges. Only 2 prototypes were built before Germany was overrun. Leopard 2. The Leopard 2 is a main battle tank developed by Krauss-Maffei in the 1970s for the West German Army. The primary armament for production versions of the Leopard 2 is the Rheinmetall 120mm smoothbore gun. A 7.62mm machine gun is paired with the cannon. The gun is fully stabilized and can fire a variety of types of rounds, such as the German anti-tank round, which is able to penetrate 22 inches of steel armor at a range of 1.5 miles, and the German multi-purpose anti-tank projectile. Also, the Leopard 2 is equipped with 2 machine guns. The tank uses multi-layer armor throughout the design. The armor consists of a combination of steel plates of different hardness, elastic materials, and other non-metallic materials. The frontal arc of the Leopard 2's armor is designed to withstand large-caliber kinetic energy penetrators and shaped charge projectiles. The tank is equipped with 1,500 horsepower, liquid-cooled V12 twin-turbo diesel engine. Megatron Challenger 2. The British-built Challenger 2, sometimes referred to as Megatron, is a largely successful brute that is known for being heavily fortified against enemy fire, thanks to a robust Chaban armor system. The Challenger 2 has done tours in the Balkans and Operation Iraqi Freedom, but a speed machine it is not. It can only reach 37 miles per hour. M1 Abrams. The M1 Abrams is perhaps the most recognized of US tank models, given it remains in service to this day. It is one of the heaviest tanks still in active service, weighing in at an impressive 68 tons. It may be an old dog by this point, but it's still an incredibly effective machine on the battlefield, a big reason why it hasn't been replaced. Leclerc main battle tank. The Leclerc is one of the better recognized French tanks, a 60-ton beast that can maneuver better than its weight might suggest. Featuring a novel armor system to help protect against a variety of artillery, the Leclerc isn't seen much outside of France, aside from the roughly 400 deployed by the UAE. Char 2C. The Char 2C gave France one of the only functioning super heavy tanks in the world, as it actually made it off the drawing board and into battle. Featuring a German-built V12, it weighed 69 tons fully loaded. Like so many others, the tank was simply too big, making fast maneuvers difficult and becoming an easy target for enemy factions. And finally, the highlight of our video, SAR tank, or why the largest tank in history failed to reach the front line in the middle of World War I. Russian engineers envisioned building a tank the height of a 3-story house, with built-in guns able to reduce entire fortresses to dust. This project saw the light of day in the spring of 1915 in the village of Oryadevo, near Moscow. A random passerby would have been shocked to see this metal monster. 3 stories high, 60 feet long, 40 feet wide. Due to its menacing appearance and formidable arsenal on board, the beast was nicknamed the SAR tank. The heart of the new weapon was to be an aircraft engine capable of accelerating the 3-wheeled monster to 10 miles per hour over rough terrain. At the same time, the hull was to be lined with steel armor, and the gun slots equipped with 2 76.2mm cannons, each armed with 60 shells. Soon, the first and only prototype of a 60-ton machine was ready. It was an attractive vehicle with a huge chassis carriage, steel armor, and a phalanx of the most advanced guns of the time inside the hull. A 15-man crew was needed to control the 60-ton monster. Even then, it never managed to roll away from its production site. However, the first tests were unsuccessful. The SAR tank's rear roller got stuck in the ground as soon as the vehicle came off its supporting base and could not be budged. The problem turned out to be an error in the calculations. There was too much load on the rear, effectively driving it into the ground. The project was sent for revision, but the revolution of 1917 sealed its fate. As a consequence, the SAR tank steel giant was left rusting in the middle of a forest, before being dismantled and transported to the museum in 1923. We hope you enjoyed the video. What impressed you the most? Leave your answers in the comments. If you liked the video, do not forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification so that you will be the first to know when a new one is released. Thank you for watching. See you soon.